Hi everyone, so I have no idea how rambly this video is gonna get. I am doing a April into May wrap up. Now I only have 3 books to talk about, but I may get a little ranty. So, oh, can you actually see the steam coming from this? I just made myself a cup of coffee. See, isn't that a cute cup? I got it from a thrift store. Apparently it's from Florida. It's a pretty cup. I like fish. But anyways, back to what I was talking about. So I'm gonna review 3 books. 2 are by the same author. So the first book I'm gonna be reviewing is Welcome to Dead House. So Michael is having his rereadathon, and I honestly can't remember the subject we were on for this month, so I am sorry, Michael. But I do know that we talked about Goosebumps, and I mentioned that I had unwrapped this. Now, the thing is that I I didn't remember how different this was from the television adaptation. So, but I had it, and I remember that I did read it. But you have to understand, I read Goosebumps when I was very young. I mean, I think I was still going into my teens when I was still reading them. But this one, it's been some years, so obviously I'm not going to remember every detail. And I've watched the show more recently because my son watches it now. So maybe I've gotten more used to the adaptation versions of the stories, even though I loved the books, and I still do. I forgot how vastly different this was. This one really is different, and I don't understand that because they're only like half-hour adaptations. I mean, with a TV show, so I don't understand why they had to change stuff. So this felt a little bit more, I don't know, very different from the show. Like, the show had a creep factor to it for a kid show, and had that eerie feeling and everything, and I think it was well done, and it was kind of spooky-ish for a kid show. So basically, I should get on to what this is about, if, in case you've never seen the show, or this episode, or read the book. So this is actually the first, yeah, it is the first book. It is the first in the Goosebumps series. This is about 2 kids named Amanda and Josh. Their father, like, mysteriously inherits this house. He's a writer, or he wants to be, and he wants to have time to work on his book, so he plans to sell their old house for money, and they move to this place called Dark Falls. And of course, things don't seem right in Dark Falls. The kids act strange, no one's ever out. Everything is very shady. And then, of course, they learn the dark truth of Dark Falls, which, this book has been out for years, obviously, and it's kind of hard to not give away spoilers, but I guess this was R.L. Stine's attempt at a zombie book, but I don't know. Like, you kind of get that Living Dead feeling in a way from the show, but even with the show and with the book, it seems more vampire-y than zombie, if you get what I mean. Just the way they acted and spoke and everything. I might have went with vampire instead of, like, the Living Dead in, like, the atmospheric way this was written. Just like the ending was different. Just how everything was done was different. Like, the basic premise was there, but I kind of liked the book better. It kind of got more into the characters, and like I said, it had more of that eerie, atmospheric feeling to it. And I love the writing style in this. I think it was really good for something that's middle grade. And I mean, obviously, I'm too old to be scared by something like that, but it was, yeah, it had that feeling to it. And it's really good for YA, or something younger than YA. It's got a nice, pretty cover to it, too. But yeah, if you haven't read this, I recommend you do, because this is a good story. So, the next book I want to talk about is one that I read, or listened to, whatever you want to call it, through Audible, and that is Turtles All the Way Down, which is the latest book by John Green. Now, I know people have their opinions on his books and everything. So far, I'm really liking them, but what I'm realizing is sometimes I think I like his characters in a way more than plot. And I can overlook some of the stupid things they do if I like the character's personality. But I think I've always kind of been a character person. Maybe that's why. So, Turtles All the Way Down deals with... Well, actually, I mean, it's about a couple things. But mainly, it is told from the point of view of a protagonist named Asa. That's her name. Her name is Asa Holmes, which, that's an interesting name. So, Asa has a type of anxiety that has to deal with bacteria and germs, and she's always thinking about what has this and what has that, and if something can kill her, and it kind of runs her life. Like, she's always worried about this. These thoughts, they, like, even though she tries to push them away, they just keep coming back. And the thing is, while I don't have any of that, obviously, you know, we all worry about getting sick to some degree. I'm not like this big germaphobe, but, you know, I have dealt with things that would be described as very bad anxiety and everything, and it is hard sometimes. It's hard to just rationalize things, like things that you worry about. You have to sit there and say, if this happened, so-and-so would do this. Like, if there was an emergency with somebody, people would come and tell you, they'd call you, something would happen. So, you know, if you hear about somebody got hurt, or something happened, you know what I mean? It's like, you worry a lot. Or sometimes these thoughts about what could happen and what could go wrong, they just show up out of nowhere. So, even though I don't have the same kind of anxiety that she has, I know the feeling and everything. How you have no control over it sometimes. And I think that's why I connected it with this book. I haven't decided yet if I like this more than The Fault in Our Stars, but I really did enjoy it. And I think he has this type of disorder. I guess that is the correct term. I'm sorry if it's not. And so I think that's maybe why he wrote it so well, because he has experience in it. So basically, yeah, she has this form of anxiety, and she has this friend named Daisy. Daisy is her best friend. They do everything together. And they discover that this kid they used to kind of know, kind of like keep in contact-ish with, his father has disappeared. His father has a lot of money, and there's a reward for finding him. So the book deals with her friend wanting, you know, the money and everything, her dealing with her anxiety, and her relationship with this boy. And I really like that it wasn't just a boy and girl see each other after a while. They fall madly in love and everything's okay. Which that was how The Fault in Our Stars was, in the same way that just because they met each other didn't mean that they didn't have cancer anymore and things were all right. And that's kind of what I like about his writing is, yeah, there's questionable things about it, such as the Amsterdam thing and The Fault in Our Stars and everything. But, you know, I like the fact that these relationships kind of grow. in his books. And that's why I want to talk about the last one. I'm going to really rant about it. But, you know, I like the conversations between her and David. That's the kid's name. And I like how people have their own issues going through. Like, Aza not just having anxiety, but her father has passed away. Or he passed away a few years before the story. And then there is David, who was taking care of his younger brother because his dad ran off. And, you know, people are after his money and everything. And his father has this animal that's like a lizard, but not a lizard, called Tuatara, I think it's called. And he wants, and Tuatara is like live years and years, and he has this idea to like make people immortal or something through the study of Tuatara. And they find out that he left all his money to the Tuatara. So he didn't give any money to his kids. His sons like David and his younger brother. So, I mean, there's a lot going on in this book. You know, there's family death and grief and, you know, feeling abandoned and dealing with stuff that, you know, that is a part of who you are and things that you really can't change. So while I think the plot was quite simple in a way, I think this was really more a character book, and I really enjoyed it. And I loved the audio. I loved listening to, you know, the person become Aza and her thoughts and everything. And yeah, it's a book I recommend. Now, we're going to talk about Looking for Alaska. This apparently was John Green's first book, or at least his first published book. And oh my god, I don't hate this book. I'm not also sure that I don't know if I like this book. I like parts of this book. I like the ideas somewhat, like of philosophy and the questioning of if there's an afterlife or what happens to us and why we worry about it and such things. Apparently this is an award winner. I think if the characters didn't do the actions that they did, I would have loved this book, because I love the ideas of enjoying life, of poetry, of quotes, and wondering why people thought this, or what the people years before us thought about life, or what the people after us will think, and, you know, what comes next and all that other stuff. I love thinking about that kind of stuff. But the characters and what they did, just, oh my god. So this is about a boy named Miles, who goes to this boarding school that his father used to go to when he was younger, in a search for what he calls the great perhaps, you know, the maybes of life. So he gets a roommate whose name is Chip, I believe. They all kind of go by nicknames, but he calls himself the Colonel. And because of irony and such, he calls Miles, who was actually quite thin, Pudge. And then there is, I believe his name is Takumi, and other people. And then the Colonel introduces Pudge to Alaska. So Alaska is into pranking and thinking about life, enjoying life. She does these kind of, what am I trying to think of it? Crazy things sometimes. She just kind of lives in the moment. And so Pudge kind of ends up falling in love with her, but she has a boyfriend. And so this is really about, you know, his like for herself and their life at school, and it really is just kind of about being teenagers. There is a lot of mature themes in this, such as sexuality-ish kind of things, and drinking, suicide, all that other stuff. And like I said, I think this would have been a really good one for me, you know, if certain actions weren't taken. So, like I said, Alaska has a boyfriend, but he's not on their campus, or he goes to school somewhere else. And there's a part where her and the colonel, and I think maybe somebody else, I can't remember, but it was Pudge, Colonel, and Alaska, they were all drinking, and then Pudge and Alaska, they end up kissing, and like they want to hook up, they don't get a chance to, and everything. And I just hate that. Like, I am not a person that approves of cheating and everything. I do think that, I don't know, like, I understand people are human and they make mistakes and everything, but just the fact that she would do that, like, she would be drinking with other guys and everything, not even just a mixture of guys and girls or whatever, but just literally alone with this guy that likes her and everything, and she's drinking. They're underage and everything. And certain things just bothered me, that people liked her so much. And I understand that she liked poetry and thinking, and she had deep thoughts, which I love characters like that, but she was also very flawed. Like, she was going to cheat on her boyfriend. You know what I mean? And I kind of like that he writes these characters not perfect and more realistic. That, yeah, teenagers, they sneak alcohol and cigarettes, and, you know, they have fake IDs, or they have people buy stuff for them, and they have complicated relationships, you know, just like everyone else. But the fact that everyone loves this girl, I don't know. It's like, she's not that perfect. And maybe I think it's the fact that Pudge, because of what happens in this book, it's more about him wanting answers than him really wanting Alaska. I know I have so much mixed feelings about this book. Honestly, I liked the side characters better than the main characters. Like, the Colonel was probably my favorite person in this book, because I wanted to like Pudge and Alaska so bad, but just the shitty things they do. Like, him telling Lara that he'd be her boyfriend, then wanting to hook up with Alaska, who he knows has a boyfriend. So, I don't know, it just, maybe it's because cheating bothers me so much. But, like I said, I love the, like, philosophical questions in this, and that's really my thing. And I loved the ending to this book. Like, I wouldn't say it dragged and everything, but I liked the idea of the characters in the later half, which it gets very sad and emotional. Like, I would say pick up this book. Maybe you'll get something different out of it. Maybe I'm being biased because of life experiences, but I can question Turtles All the Way Down. But I think overall, I would definitely say that The Fault in Our Stars is better than this, because I think he made better characters in that book with the personalities that he wanted in this one. I think they just kind of gender swapped in a way. Like, Pudge and Alaska pretty much is a reversed Gus and Hazel without, like, the cheating. So, yeah, this video is getting long. I'm sorry. Like I said, I would probably be ranting, because I really don't know how I feel about this. I don't hate it. And I wouldn't, like, unhaul it. I might read it again one day. Maybe I'll get something else out of it. Maybe I'll pick up more on the stuff that I like. But for a first read, I'm very indifferent to this. I like the ideas in religion and thought and questioning I guess this is the first book that I like the themes and ideas more than the characters, and that's a little different for me. But anyways, if you stuck through this, thank you. This review is long enough for $30, but yeah, I would recommend them still. They were fun reads, and they really made me think. So yeah. Anyways, bye guys.